Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
7 this Friday in your nation's capital. Thanks for tuning in to O'Connor and Company. Coming up in 30 minutes, we'll check in with the great one, Mark Levin, a big book signing tomorrow at the Barnes & Noble in Reston. You're going to want to be there. And at 8:35, Janine Lawson, former Prince William County Supervisor, talk about a victory for those suing the Digital Gateway Data Center project that got jammed through by those supervisors. And now it's stalled because of this court ruling. We'll get into that coming up at 8:35. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka.
Happy Friday, Larry.
Hey, right back at you, lady. Joining us right now is Kevin Dayaratna. I've been working on that name all day. I've turned it into a song. Kevin Dayaratna. Kevin Daya. I hope I'm saying it right. His book is Cooling the Climate Hysteria. He's at the Heritage Foundation, as all brilliant minds are. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
So you are a data analyst, and you look at statistics, numbers, statistician. I'm told that the geniuses in academia and at NASA and everything, they do the same thing, and yet somehow you come up with some different findings with regard to carbon emissions, CO2, and the environment. What does your data show you with regard to specifically the EPA this week saying no, CO2, the air, literally the air we breathe out of our lungs, is not a pollutant?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think the short answer is that to come to the conclusion that CO2 is a pollutant, you have to go out of your way to cherry pick the data. And what we did at the Heritage Foundation is that we hired a group of experts to engage in research to chime in on the boundary of climate change and policy from a variety of different angles, from climate modeling, from the physics to the biology to the public health aspects. And what we found is overall that climate change, while occurring, it's not occurring at nearly a catastrophic rate, as these people claim it is. And it's been pushed that way under the conception that it is occurring at a catastrophic rate to justify a political agenda. And that's quite disturbing. And we're very glad to see that the Trump administration is rolling back on these unnecessary regulations that underpin pretty much everything in our economy, including enabling this very call to operate.
So, Kevin, speaking about rolling back a lot of these green New Deal, green related programs and subsidies, we saw the EPA kill this grant program to boost solar energy among low-income households. Now, this was a Bernie Sanders brainchild where it's like, green solar panels for all type situation. And he really positioned it as a jobs program more than any sort of impact on the environment or savings for families. I mean, do you agree with the idea that a lot of these green solar energy programs really are not the big savings that they've been pitched as particularly under the Biden administration, but generally on the left? I mean, are they really helping the environment or helping save money for regular families?
It's a wonderful question, and this is a great question. So we also looked at this, and if you can actually look up the Heritage Foundation Climate Calculator. This is based on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change models. And if you look at what our calculations show based on the models, and it's not just our calculations, anybody on either side of the aisle would agree with this. Even if you buy in to all this doom and gloom, this hysteria about climate change, what happens is that there are a variety of assumptions you can make about how the climate responds to CO2 emissions. And experts have put out a whole spectrum of values on here. Even if you take the worst case scenarios, if the United States were to completely halt CO2 emissions via widespread adoption of these things, via widespread adoption of solar panels, via widespread adoption of electric vehicles, via widespread adoption of wind power and all of these things that the government has tried to subsidize over the past, you will see no more than 0.2 of a degree Celsius temperature mitigation by the end of the century. It is trifling, and it's quite disturbing that they throw so much money at these problems that essentially have no effect. It is crony capitalism at its finest.
So here's what is vexing to people who are just trying to get to the truth and just trying to figure out, all right, either carbon emissions are destroying our atmosphere and making drastic changes in our climate, or it's not. So what is frustrating to so many people is that everything that you're saying in your book, Cooling the Climate Hysteria, and in all of the analysis that you're chugging out there at Heritage Foundation, there are going to be just as many, if not more, scientists and data analysts who are going to look at the same numbers and they're going to say, oh, no, this proves that your SUV is going to kill the planet and we only have 5 years left before it's irreversible. How do you sort of reconcile the disparity?
Great question. So basically, there are a variety of climate models. So, it's very hard, and you notice this when you watch the Weather Channel, to make forecasts, say, 5-10 days in advance, right? Maybe a couple days in advance, it's reasonable. But when you really try to make weather forecasts out into the future, it's very, very difficult to predict. So the climate models that these people use, that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change leans on, tries to make predictions decades, if not centuries, into the future. And so that's fine, right? It's a fascinating exercise to try to make forecasts this far into the future. But what ends up happening is that then you have the real question is, how accurate are these forecasts? And obviously, we can't foresee what the future is going to hold. But what we can do is backtest these models to see how well they do on prior temperature data. And what you notice is this gross overprediction. They vastly overpredict. They can't even predict the past 10, 20 years. So how can you actually buy into the fact that they're going to be able to predict the following 100 years? They grossly overpredict the following 100 years. And that just shows you that the climate change, while the temperatures are increasing, they are increasing at a far, far lower range than these so-called experts claim. And what they do is they engage in circular logic by fine-tuning their models to achieve a particular result. And at the end of the day, it's just baloney, the climate models themselves. There are a couple that get them right. There are a couple of get them right. But at the end of the day, most of them far, far overpredict. And like I said, if you take that range of climate sensitivities, how sensitive the planet is to CO2 emissions, if you look at how the climate models do, you're actually at the far lower end of that range. So I told you that if the United States were to abate CO2 emissions, there'd be no more than 0.2 degrees Celsius temperature mitigation by the end of the century. In reality, you're going to have far, far less than that if you actually take into account the proper climate sensitivity.
Dr. Dayaratna, let's put this in a broader context about culture and the changes that people have been forced to make. You talked about, some of the climate change tax credits and things, people retrofitting their houses with new energy-saving, efficient things like stoves and refrigerators, appliances. But then also it gets worse than that. And I think it's the cultural hysteria. And I love the title of your book there, where you call the Cooling the Climate Hysteria, where there's so many young people who don't want to have kids because they're worried about the carbon footprint that having children would lead to, or they buy into the overpopulation arguments that there are too many, that the earth is too populated as is, and that's damaging to the climate. Ending subsidies is great and all of that, but how do we really tamp down from a cultural perspective and really help shape the future generations to recognize that, yes, you can take care of your planet, but you don't have to be insane about it and go to such draconian ends?
So it's a great question. I think the answer is to continue to pump out the truth and emphasize what the true story is. So the tide has turned. Fortunately, the Trump administration is rolling back a lot of these unnecessary regulations and basing it on sound science, unlike what the left has been doing. And we just need to continue to push the envelope on this. We need to continue to get the message out there. And yeah, I think that's going to pay off in the long run.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you for a very informative and I think enlightening conversation,
Absolutely,
Kevin Dayaratna.
Yes.
Again, the book is called Cooling the Climate Hysteria, Heritage Foundation. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
It is 7:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Patrice Onwuka, we have an update on D.C. crime, and it's, I think, a good step in the right direction. As you know, President Trump, over the weekend, or just as the week began, said that the district council has to get serious about enforcing its laws and convicting juveniles who are arrested for violent crimes. This came after the aforementioned Doge team member who goes by the nickname of Big Balls.
I'm not going to say it. You can say it.
I did. I said it. You said it earlier.
Yeah. I got in trouble. You said I'm. I'm just giving the guy's name and teasing the ball segment here.
Stop that. Online nickname.
I'm joking.
Anyway, he intervened when a woman was being attacked in D.C. by a gang. He got beaten and bloodied, and Donald Trump said enough is enough. D.C. gets serious or we're going to federalize the district. He's moved in that direction as he has now ordered federal law enforcement officers to patrol the streets of Washington, D.C. for the next 7 days. This means the U.S. Park Police and also officers from the FBI, DEA, ATF, and divisions of ICE and other agencies will all partner with local law enforcement to patrol the streets and see if that law enforcement presence actually makes a difference. And I can tell you it will. Understand that Donald Trump, at his heart, he is a New Yorker. He understands New York City. And the fact of the matter is, New York is one of the last cities on this planet that has beat patrols where cops walk the sidewalks, walk the streets. And that police presence, believe it or not, actually does decrease crime. And we've gone through this modern era where woke, frankly, race-baiting politicians have said, no, the problem is having these cops in our streets. It's turned our neighborhoods into war zones. It seems like they're constantly, our citizens are being monitored and they're being inspected, stop and frisk and all that. So they pulled the police out, they defunded them, they gave them and guess what? Crime increased. And the victims are people of color, Patrice.
Oh, they are. I mean, let's consider here. D.C. should be one of the places where people want to come and spend their tax dollars. They want to be tourists. Young people tend to flock to this city because they're getting their start in politics. And where we're seeing crime is not segmented to some of the zones or areas where you would think that kind of stuff happens here. No, it is across the city. It's in places where people hang out and dine out, and because the violence is so random that you don't know and you don't feel safe going through the streets of D.C. And so, I welcome it. I welcome, even if it's just for a few days, that police presence. It's going to send a signal. Now, watch out, because you're going to have a lot of these local D.C. lawmakers and, frankly, if there are any members of Congress hanging around here on the left, they're going to talk about, oh, this is terrible. This is going after black people. Well, you know what? It's about preventing crime against black people and against Hispanic people and against Asians and against white people. It's protecting the city and trying to stop the bad guys and gals before they do wrong. That's what this is.
That's absolutely what this is. And to add to the discussion, none other than Vice President J.D. Vance shared an incredible graphic with a statistic here, specifically featuring capitals around the world. These are capital cities and the murder rates, the homicide rates. Let's start from, Nairobi. Okay, Nairobi is the capital of
Kenya.
What country?
I believe that's Kenya.
Kenya, thank you. I was going to say Niger. Let's go with Kenya. 5 homicides per 100,000 in Nairobi. Havana, Cuba, 4 homicides per 100,000. Mexico City.
Yes.
The capital of Mexico has 8 homicides per 100,000. Bogota, Colombia, known for its drug lords and cartels. 8 homicides per 100,000.
No, 11. Bogota is 11.
Oh, excuse me, 11. Thank you. 11. So now we're into double digits, right? Okay, so what have we said here? Mexico City, 8. Bogota, 11. Nairobi.
Lagos?
Yeah. Lagos, 15. Now you're getting up there. Okay. Lagos is 15 per 100,000. Let's check D.C. How does D.C. measure up? 41 homicides
Oh, my goodness.
per 100,000.
Oh.
Yeah, forget about just any city. We're talking about a capital city. Again, a capital city is held apart. They operate under different criteria. They are supposed to be the crown jewel of a nation. And here in Washington, because we have a constitutional republic, should be a place where every citizen from sea to shining sea, even Alaska and Hawaii, should be able to travel to petition their government, to talk to their representative, to sit in a hearing and witness we the people have a right to come to our capital without looking over our shoulder thinking that we're about to get knifed or carjacked or murdered. And this government has completely abandoned the people of this nation.
It's sad. It's sad.
It is. Sorry, I got a little worked up there because it's something that I hold dear to. Eventually, there will be enough courage in Congress to rescind home rule, which is a failed experiment. In the meantime, Trump calling in federal law enforcement to patrol the streets, that's a great step in the right direction.
Yep, we welcome it. All right, coming up, we've got the great one, Mark Levin. He has a great new book out on power. We're going to talk with him about his book, plus everything going on in Washington right now. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company on a Good Friday.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37 now on O'Connor and Company. It's a busy Friday morning. Every day's busy these days. Coming up at 8:35, Janine Lawson. She's a former Prince William County supervisor, and she fought against that data center in Prince William County and She didn't win, sadly, when the supervisors voted, but now she's won in court with a lawsuit. We'll tell you all those details coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka.
Good morning, Larry. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it.
Good morning to you, too. And, well, let's get right to it. He's the best. He's the great one. He's, well, frankly, an idol, a mentor, and a friend. And you hear him every day right here from 6 to 9 on WMAL. He is, of course, Mark Levin. Mr. Levin, thanks for joining us.
Mr. Larry, Ms. Patrice, it's always an honor. How's everybody?
We're good,
Great.
and we're excited
How are
about your big event tomorrow, the Reston Barnes & Noble. This is starting at 10 a.m., although I've been to these book signings before, Mark. People better show up a little earlier than that because there's going to be a line.
Well, you know what? This Barnes & Noble, by the way, is brand new. It is fantastic. There's plenty of parking there. And it's at the Spectrum at Reston Town Center, Reston, Virginia. And, you know, this is my home base, so I can't wait to meet as many people as possible. And we'll take our time, sign books. We always have a fun time. You know, it's a big meeting of patriots.
Well, more importantly, is Mrs. Great One going to be there?
That's true. No, you don't understand. It's the greatest one. And
the greater one, the greatest one. There you go. Well, actually, not so fast, sir. We got to talk about your book, and it's funny you should say the greatest one, because in Chapter 3, on positive power, I didn't get to this when we spoke last time, but you talk about God. You talk about our sovereignty as individual humans in God's eyes, and you compare that. Not just you, but you draw on some brilliant minds over history who have compared Judaism and Christianity and our view of God and our sovereignty as human beings with God's sovereignty to Islam. And I think that your analysis of political Islam really rings home in terms of what we're seeing every day right now, sadly, in the Middle East and back home here in America. So I'd love for you to expand on that and sort of give our listeners a glimpse of this part of your book and why they should get on power.
Yes, this is really very important to understand. America is great for a reason, and it's the way that it came into being. And these founders were great for a reason, too. They were well-read. I mean, they read their ancients. They were people of faith. They practiced it different ways. Doesn't really matter. So there were really two things that happened here. Number one, you look at the Declaration of Independence. What is it? We look at it very superficially. The fact is that these men believe that God is sovereign. They embrace the Judeo-Christian belief system. And by God being sovereign, what they said is that God's children are sovereign here on earth when it comes to government. The people, each individual is sovereign, and the people, the collective, is sovereign. And then they fused that. They knew a lot about the Enlightenment from the 1500s and so. And during the Revolutionary period, John Locke was the philosopher they read the most, and during the Constitutional period, Montesquieu. Locke is the genius behind the idea of the civil society, and the civil society predates government. Then we get to government, and Montesquieu is the one who put the most precise point on power checking power. Why? Because even though man is sovereign, man is imperfect. Man has a very dark side as well as a very good side. And so they took the belief system, they applied it through the Enlightenment. We created this fantastic Constitution, which is, as Justice Scalia used to say, the key to our Constitution is power checking power, separation of powers. And I compare that also to the 1936 Stalin Constitution, which is a fantastic Constitution. He kind of stole it from our Bill of Rights. But here's the deal. Liberty without rights means nothing, and rights without power means nothing. So I got to thinking, I got to write a book on power and explain this. And then when it comes to Islam, political Islam or radical Islam or these terrorists and so forth, and it's seeped into our society of candidates running and actually embracing it, they did not go through the Enlightenment or the Reformation.
That's right.
They are stuck. The primitives in the 7th century, their tactics are barbaric. They've not come through the process that the other faiths came through. And so it's this, and Marxism is, well, they don't care about the Enlightenment. They hate it, and they hate the Reformation. So they're both about the centralization of power, control by a handful of masterminds. They're completely incompatible with the American founding, Marxism, Islamism, and so forth. So I get into this whole positive power thing versus the whole negative power because I think it's crucially important to understand.
Yeah.
Well, picking up on that point, there's some great examples. You have a post on your X feed where you talk about the failures of the United Nations in giving out giving out aid in Gaza, and how terrorist groups, militias, oppressive regimes, they exploit their power over the poor people who are in desperate situations. And I think that's true of a lot of the left right now, who use the plight of poor people, whether it's homeless, minorities, use them as cases to kind of hold power, yet never really fixing the problem. They just use these people to continue to stay in power, compared to those, I think, on the right who tend to say, no, we want everyone's boats to be lifted. Do you see that? Is that a good way of framing it?
Yeah, it's important. When you look at just here in this country, the open border, and how it's killed all these people with fentanyl, and how women were sold into sex slavery, and over 300,000 unaccompanied minors missing. You never heard the Democrats talk about that. They didn't give a damn. They still don't give a damn. And so they flood the country with people, and then they refuse to deport them. And as I explained in the book, that's all about power. That's all they care about. So they don't care about, quote unquote, the little guy. If they cared about the little guy, they'd look around here, the greatest country, the most prosperous country. They'd walk into the supermarket and say, oh my God, look at what's available to the common person, to the average man and woman. Look what's available. Things that aren't available, that weren't available to kings and queens, things that aren't available to 99% of the rest of the world. And they'd say, how did this happen? It happened through our founding. It happened with our Constitution. It happened in our belief that the individual is sovereign, and our embrace in market commerce, voluntary commerce. That's what we call capitalism, which is actually a word that Marx invented.
It's all about power. Mark Levin boils it down for you in his book On Power. I don't always get to read every book before an interview. I try my best, especially when the author is Mark Levin. This book was very easy to get through. It's a great one because he's the great one. And Mark, real quickly, because I'd love for you to sort of comment on some things going on in the news today in light of your book. This debate over jurisdiction, drawing congressional lines, gerrymandering, And President Trump's call yesterday to have a new census that does not count illegal immigrants in this country. Do you think that will pass constitutional muster? Surely it will be challenged in the courts.
By the way, tomorrow, Life, Liberty, and Levin, tomorrow night at 8, I actually spend my entire opening statement on this, all 20 minutes.
Give us a preview.
Excuse me, I have cholera. Anyway, so, no, just kidding. Anyway, it's important to understand. Go ahead and read Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. Actually, the word people or persons isn't in that section. It's in the section above. But that said, I want you to think about this. There are a lot of rights at play, so-called, for instance, one man, one person, one vote. If you live in a district which has a lot of illegal aliens, and that district is created, and you have a congressman that represents that district, your citizenship, you can vote. They at least presumably cannot. Your citizenship is watered down compared to, say, the district next door, which doesn't have a lot of illegal aliens and so forth. So there's a lot of constitutional aspects there. And also, when it comes to illegal aliens, you can't find anything. It's like birthright citizenship, where they set this up for illegal aliens. It's so crazy, so stupid. And so constitutional challenges, I mean, this is a slam dunk, but it doesn't mean the Supreme Court will find it a slam dunk, because I think we have a couple of them there that have gone Hollywood. So we'll see.
All right. Well, that's sadly all the time we have. But the good news is, as you mentioned, Life, Liberty, and Levin, both Saturday and Sunday, 2 unique shows, 8 p.m. Of course, the Mark Levin Show every night here for 3 hours, 6 to 9. And you can meet the great one face-to-face tomorrow, 10 a.m., Barnes & Noble, Reston. Mark, thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
You guys are great. Thank you, guys. God bless.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
The Digital Gateway Project in Prince William County was a top story here that we covered endlessly as the debates unfolded before the county supervisors there. We believe that there were some conflicts of interest. We had Janine Lawson on, a member of the county supervisors, talking about this data center and some of the problems with rezoning portions of Prince William County to accommodate this data center. We were told that this was really just about jobs, and economic growth, which is fine, but why should you skirt the rules with regard to rezoning and public disclosures if it's such a great idea, was Janine Lawson's argument. She lost that argument at the vote, but then some citizens took the county supervisors to court and challenged the rezoning, and yesterday we had our conclusion. The judge said, yeah, the people are right. They violated the rules and the regulations with regard to rezoning, public disclosures, plans, ordinance, amendments, advertised notices. None of it was properly made available to the public. They tried to push this thing through, and the people won in court. That doesn't mean it's the end of this project, but they won this round. If you're going to do it properly and follow the law.
I mean, it's going to keep coming back, because as AI continues to, transform our economy, we have an administration that's pushing for AI. You need data centers. You're going to need these ways to process all of this information. And is it going to be in my backyard? I think that's the challenge, and that's what's going on here.
If it's necessary and a great idea, make that case, make it properly, and disclose all the information so the public has a chance to see it. And that was the argument. And they didn't do any of that. Janine Lawson, the woman who has been fighting this fight, she's going to do a bit of a victory lap and tell us what's next here with the Digital Gateway. She'll join us at 8:35. Right now, it's 7:54.